Hi guys, we're going live here. So we're getting our connection, making sure everything's hunky-dory. How's everybody out there? We're here at Hair Story Studio in New York City. How's the connection? We good? All right. Hey guys, we're live at Hair Story Studio in New York City. Once again with Wes Sharpton, who's the resident hair cutter here. For those of you that don't know, Hair Story Studio is a very unique place for hairdressers. I'm thinking of it as almost like their nirvana for hairdressers. It was founded by Michael Gordon, and he kind of created this incredible creative space with a bunch of different studios, and he's got different resident hairdressers, and people come in and out from different states, and they've got a great product line that Wes will talk a little bit about. But enough about that. Let's get into the haircut and see what Wes has in store for you today.
Awesome. Let me get a cake real quick.
So we got gorgeous model. What's your
Yes.
name?
I'm Kelly.
You got your Boy Scout troop shirt on, which is cute. I think that was my troop.
Great. So Kelly already looks great, obviously.
So you're going to try to make her look worse.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That was
okay.
my whole
It's
goal.
very avant-garde
Exactly. Totally.
concept.
We're gonna work in reverse. So.
It's more challenging that way.
Well, it's gonna be interesting because I always like the idea of change, and I like the idea of people really kind of going for it. And Kelly's open to anything. I mean, I think the great thing is we actually have a little surprise in the future of beautiful pictures of her that are really, 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 really short, and she looks incredible like that. And we've had you in bobs before, so anything that we do, she can really wear it, and I really, really love working with Miss Kelly.
Did you show her that yet?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm excited. I really like it.
So everyone that's just tuning in, we're here in New York City at the Hair Story Studio with Wes Sharpton. He's going to be doing a haircut for you today on the lovely Kelly. Obviously, it's going to be some short cutting, and we can get to understand a little bit about his technique and his thinking. So give us an overview of what's happening now in your mind for the technique.
Well, right now I'm sectioning the sides from the top. I want to keep a little bit more length in the top. I will eventually be shortening the bangs a little bit, but I really want to go through and condense this. It has a tendency to get a little bit wide for her in real life, so it's important that I address that now. Even though she looks fantastic in this moment, she knows herself, and instinctively she knows that there's a window, right, where this is going to go from looking cool, looking great, but also moving into a place where it's a little bit unmanageable for her.
Awesome. We've got some people joining us. Scott Cooley joins us a lot. He's ready for you to cut some hair. So here we go, Scott. We're about to get started working with the straight edge razor and kind of working that hair down. Tell us a little bit about your approach here with the razor.
So what I'm doing is I'm taking these sections and I'm using it in a broader way so that I get a sense of separation. There's a level of diffusion that's going to happen. It's going to make it a little bit softer looking in the end result, but still a really nice, close to the head. I'm actually angling my fingers so that I retain a little bit more length up in here, but I'm moving to get tighter down in here.
Yeah, when I cut short hair with the razor, I always try to think of like an old shag carpet. Like
What
I
do
try
you
to get,
mean?
you know, that texture of the way the pieces would intertwine.
Yeah,
it's
I
almost like
love that.
Velcro.
Okay, great.
You know,
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
you can
can see
move it
that.
around, and it makes it so much more stylable and versatile,
Yeah.
even as short hair.
Exactly.
Because sometimes if it's cut too clean and too angular, it just does one thing. It might do that one thing really well, but when you have that different kind of grain on the edge, you get that shag carpet. You can push it in one direction and get one texture, and push it in another. So we're shagging.
It is more, it does create something that's a bit more versatile. And so that's really nice. I like, for me, whenever I think about short hair, I do a lot of short hair, I would say. And people always ask me, like, why do I do so much short hair? And I think it's really about someone getting liberated in a weird way. It's because what happens is the longer the hair, the more linguid it is. And the more linguid something is, you actually have to put a shape into it for styling. Whereas the shorter you go, it's actually closer to the head, it becomes stationary. So the shape is already there, so all they have to do is just wake up, put a little balm in it, and then call it a day, right? So I love that sense of freedom that it give somebody.
Tell us a little bit about the sections. How did you choose this kind of pattern here? I noticed you started in the front. Why work from the front to the back?
Well, I want to kind of create a sense of fluidity, right? So as I started here and it was in the front, it was actually more straight, and as I'm moving on, it's becoming more at a diagonal. The reason why is because that means that I'm really working off of the head shape, and I'm going to get something that feels more fluid. So I work all the way around the head completely.
So a couple of shout outs. Jason Devastation says, "Hey Wes." Is that a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Jason Devastation.
We love Jason.
That's a powerful name. I wonder if that's his real name.
It's, of course.
Michael Moncrief. Michael Moncrief from
Amazing.
Tallahassee says, "Thanks for sharing." You know, we love the gratitude here that that people share. You know, we just want to bring you great education and help you excel and introduce you to great hairdressers and great concepts. And that's what we're doing here with Wes Sharpton here at the Hair Story Studio. Tell us a little bit about the concept of a studio as you cut through the back here.
Well, I think a studio is really more about a think tank, right? It's more about discovering, and I think it's about creating a safe place for people to discover in. I think it's been designed in a way that it asks you to maybe be better than you were the day before. And I think that is to, I don't know that it has anything to do necessarily with the physical space, but the philosophy of mentorship that comes naturally from Michael.
I think that's a great concept, and I think if every salon owner thought about that, you know, asking their staff to be better every day, and then themselves also being better every day, and the way they run the salon, or vice versa, if you're independent, you know, kind of spurring yourself to be better every day. Okay, so we've got, again, lots of people thanking. Guys, we'd also love your questions. We've got Karen Garcia, thanks for the haircutting, thanks for sharing. Susan Olatowski loves watching you cut hair, Wes.
Oh, thanks.
But again, guys, if you have technical questions, we'd love to answer those as well, about razor cutting or about the Hair Story Studio or styling hair. So Wes, you said you were going to progress more and more diagonally. So it looks
Yeah,
like you've
so
gotten-
I'm really moving in, and you can see from here how this is starting to hug really nicely with the head shape. It looks very natural. It doesn't look forced to me. It's not maybe a kind of Barbary type haircut. You can see that it's really flowing with the head shape. This is becoming tighter at the nape where it naturally would, and it's getting rounder throughout here. It's still close, so it's just following the line.
So, you know, we talked about different kind of shapes here. You said like working from the front to the back gives you a more fluid feeling. Do you find that it kind of encourages a rounder shape through the back because you're kind of over-directing forward a little bit?
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily that it creates a rounder shape for me. What it does is it just creates a natural shape because I'm really following the way that the head shape wants to go.
So just working with the contour.
Exactly.
Great. Question from Stephanie Vandenberg. Do you like to change your blade throughout the haircut or keep the same blade for the entire haircut?
I usually like to keep the same blade because honestly I feel like it's sharp enough.
Yeah, it should be definitely, this type of blade, the feather plie blade, should be definitely sharp enough for one haircut, probably up to 2, sometimes even 3.
Yeah. So no, I don't change it during, the only thing, and this is a rare occasion, I find, that sometimes certain hair textures are a little bit coarser, and sometimes coarser hair has
You
a
can feel the
tendency to
blade.
dull the blade, and if when I start to feel a tug from the blade on the hair, I know that something has to change. That could either be the angle that I'm working with, or it could be the blade itself.
Right, that rotation of the blade can feel totally different. If
Yeah.
it's too flat or if it's really on the edge, you get different
Exactly.
effects depending on how you, but I like to think of that, the razor cutting is going beyond 3-dimensional hair cutting and kind of going into like a 4th dimension, you know, because the holding hand can affect
like
it
that.
so much.
That's
You know, beautiful precision scissor cutting is wonderful, but you've got these 3 dimensions and, you know, then the scissor just comes in and clips the hair off. But now you actually have to bring the razor in and totally affect the texture of the hair while you create the shape. So again, guys, we love your questions. It looks like we've got some stuff coming in. Angie Ostra wants to know, how wet would you say the hair should be during the razor cut?
It doesn't need to be dripping, but it definitely needs to have enough moisture that it's gonna glide in a really nice way.
Do you ever cut dry hair? Personally?
Sure.
You do?
I think what it is for me is I've gotten to a place where I worked really hard to understand the fundamentals, the anatomy of the razor. So I know those rules so that I can create whatever my mind is dreaming up. I can rely on my fingers to execute that. Everything else past that point is an effect, right? So sometimes, of course, maybe you have someone that you want to work with and you want to use the flat of the blade because you know how to do that at the edge of the blade. It could look a little raw. It could look a little bit more punk rock, right? It's a different effect, but understanding the right person, the hair texture, you have to go through learning the fundamental first, and then you can break it.
Yeah, so just like any art or craft, you master. So I'm sure you spent quite a while mastering scissor cutting and
Yeah.
the basics of geometric hair cutting before you really were allowed to start razoring.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that a lot of great training, that's kind of a modern foundation of training. Learn your lines, layers, graduation with the scissor, then learn them with the razor, then start to break the rules and mix it all up. We had a good question come in here from Lucy Davies. She said, do you tend to work without clips when razor cutting?
I always work without clips. It's just a preference. It's just, everyone's from a different school. The school of thought that I came from was about learning how to control the direction of the hair and being able to do that first. And so we never use clips in cutting. So I don't personally use clips, but am I wildly offended by clips in the world? No. I think it's just whatever works for you.
Absolutely. So for you, it's more about getting the right dampness, controlling the direction, lots of combing to get the hair where you want it.
Exactly.
And then you're kind of molding the hair into the style as you're actually cutting it.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's really, it's a lot more about me having control over the direction of the hair as opposed to feeling like I need to clip it away. And also I'm understanding in this instance, so if we were going a little bit tighter in here, what would happen is maybe someone might want to clip that, but I'm actually angling my fingers to create length. So this is, even though it's clean, it's not, I don't have to worry about getting so close and disrupting that part.
So Cal, Michael just pointed out something beautiful here that he wants everyone to see, and I agree completely. Bring the camera around here just for 1 second. You can see on the transformation with Kelly's hair with this shorter texture happening underneath, the way it allows the top, even being uncut, to do something there, which is really quite beautiful. And we wanted to kind of point that out. So it's kind of opening up opportunities here and allowing that hair to really do something different and to do something different on its own. And that's one of the reasons why I love razor cutting. Things can just kind of happen. They're not quite so planned or contrived.
Right.
And that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. When you think about how you cut hair, do you think of yourself as a simple hair cutter? Or you're a big thinker? I think some people really think it through and do their diagrams, and they tend to use a lot of, you go just more instinctively and cut the hair.
Well, there's something instinctive, but what happened once, and I have a great relationship with Michael, and what happened one day was I came in, we were doing this class, I was planned. I was like, I'm going to show Michael Gordon that I know
what I'm doing. Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I came in with my plan and the thing and the thing and the thing and the thing and all of this stuff down to every single detail, right? And he looks at me and he goes, do you know why it's better for children to play with block toys than to watch movies? And I go, what is he talking about? This guy is talking to me about kids' toys, and I'm just described this brilliant haircut to him, and I'm waiting for the answer. And he goes, well, block toys don't have an ending.
Right.
And what that meant in that moment was to, not that you to go in unplanned, have a plan. but also leave yourself a little bit of space to reconnect and see what is a new possibility once you've eliminated something.
I think that's brilliant. I love that. It's again, if you've mastered your fundamentals, then that becomes the magic. We have another question from Scott Cooley, who's always tuning in. Thanks for all your support, Scott. He says, would you say that cutting with a razor has the ability to change the fabric or change the texture of the hair compared to working with shears or scissors? Do you feel like you're changing the texture with the razor?
I think it depends. I think it depends upon what angle you're at, because I'm actually at the sharpest point.
Right.
I imagine this almost as if it were a really great triangle, and at the tip of that triangle is the sharpest place.
Right.
And so I'm able to get a clean line, and then I choose whether I want to see more of a sense of a separation or a tighter line. So if I need something to be a bit more diffused, then I'm going to broaden my stroke. And if I need something to be tighter and cleaner and more precise, I'm going to shorten my stroke. So I don't know that I'm changing the texture so much, because there is a sense of precision that does happen, and there's a cleanness that does happen from the edge of the blade. I think when you get into changing the texture of hair with a razor, you're actually dealing more when you move to the flat of the blade.
I think that's a great explanation. So yes, when you're working with the edge there, you've got more control over the shape and the line. Then as you rotate the blade flatter, then you can kind of really change the cuticle.
Exactly.
That's a great answer. So Lucy Davies just wants to know you've totally inspired her, and she's going to get a razor out tomorrow.
Do it.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, a lot of people, they play with the razor a little bit, and they maybe don't see the magic happen right away, and they put it away.
Right. People always have to kind of take one class and then hope kind of for the best. What's great about this is it's live, but you can also go back to it. You can revisit it. And I think when you put that into your atmosphere, along with being devoted to the idea that you're just going to get it, it's a great tool. It's a great resource for people to go back to and look at something. So I love when people say that. And I also say find a waitress, okay? Find a friend and give it 2 hours and just find someone that's with you. I always tell everybody, find someone who will cut it themselves if you do not cut it for them. They have 0 attachments, and you can just kind of play and see and not be in a nervous energy place when you're working.
Right, which
You're
is
in a
so you can't do
place.
good work when you have that nervous energy.
Yeah.
You're thinking, what are they thinking? How are they thinking
Exactly.
about it? I'm thinking if it's right, they're thinking if it's right. I know it's wrong, they think it's right.
Exactly.
Tell us what you're doing technically here, because this is, you've kind of turned the razor around, you're working backhand up into the hair.
Exactly.
Explain the technique here.
So the thing that I think about, ooh, I love that.
You bumped into him.
Oh,
You hit his
nice.
buttons.
Exactly.
You hit a very sensitive button.
So what I'm doing is I'm following the head shape along this way. What I have a tendency to do that I think works best for me is I'm looking for the way that the hair moves and the direction in which it moves. I'm going to follow that direction, because if I fight that, it's going to probably go against me. So I don't fight it. I just allow myself to kind of, like in this section, I actually started at the very tip of this swirl and then brought my section into that, because now it lives in the place where it wants to live, and I can have it just follow fluid. And then I turn this up and then tilt. That's the trick. It's the tilting of it that allows me to stay on the sharpest point.
So beautiful comment here from Anya Whitcomb. Just a little validation for you guys. You guys are the absolute best. Hair Story changed my life. I preach about your products everywhere I go. Thank you for everything you do and your approach to everything. I love that more and more people are paying attention to your brilliance. That's from Anya Whitcomb. Nice little validation for the team here.
Thank you.
I love that. I like that she said preach too.
Yeah.
That's great. See,
Preach, sister.
that's my favorite.
So talk to us a little bit about the actual products, because that's obviously a big part of how you can keep this studio going.
Right. Yeah, so what it is we only make 4 products. And that sounds crazy in a reason why is because there was a discovery about detergent and how detergent in shampoo affects hair and how it affects people's scalp. And so it's a new way to wash hair, right? So when you get rid of the detergent, you also get rid of all the other products that are Band-Aids. So you bought the problem that created the problem, then you bought all these other things to fix the problem that you bought in the first place. So that's really my kind of take on it is, well, what happens in the world is if you don't need all of these Band-Aids to fix a problem that you purchased in the first place. That's why we call it shampoo, because it's a sham and it's a scam. So I'm really, 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 it's the only thing I've used for a really long time.
So, small technical question. Like, normally, how long do you schedule for a haircut? And what's your day like here? Do you typically do a few clients, or?
It depends upon the day. It's the great thing that I do like about here is that there's a sense of diversity that's always happening. So it could be, it could be a day where I'm just hanging out and cutting some girls, or maybe there's some teaching going on, or maybe there's some people that come in that have been my clients for a long time. As far as the time goes, it's New York, right? So I kind of build into the factor that people are often late. It's a little tricky sometimes to get around in New York, so I give myself about an hour. It actually really probably takes me about 10, 15, 20 minutes to cut somebody's hair. The rest of that is a conversation. Because my thought is, if I can go and dig deep enough and find out what's really happening, and we can develop a great kind of plan or an understanding, then I can execute it really quickly, because I'm not trying to figure it out along the way.
We've got a great comment from Natalia Sidora. Can I just say the model is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm super jealous of her eyebrows. It looks like we're getting to that point where you're going to be working around the front, so you must be looking at her eyebrows as well.
Exactly.
What's your eyebrow secret?
Yeah, give us the eyebrow lowdown.
Tell us. Just born with it.
I don't know.
Do you do anything in particular? Do you tweeze? Do you wax?
Well, they did a little makeup on me here.
Yeah, they did a little shaping.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're coming into that area, so you're starting to look really at how it's falling around the face, and tell us what you're thinking.
I'm thinking she looked amazing before, and so this is really an exercise about changing and shifting it to look different and new and fresh. And Kelly can sometimes look really sweet in the world, and I know, being a small person, the worst thing that someone could ever say to me is...
And if you need proof, have a look.
Exactly, see? Exactly.
I'm not a small person.
The worst thing when you are a small person is someone says, oh, you're so cute, right? And I think when you're sweet and you look sweet, the worst thing in the world after so many years of being so sweet is that someone looks at you and says, you're sweet. Right. So if I can juxtapose it and add a little bit of edge and interest to it,
a little fire,
then it's a little bit more powerful.
We've got a comment from a great friend of ours, Andy Bates, who's out in Sacramento with the Federico team. Hi everyone. Wes, you have such a delicate touch and are very precise. How often do you find yourself refining on dry hair with the scissors, or do you get everything you need from just the razor on wet hair?
It depends. I mean, I don't have any qualms about going back and refining something if something needs refinement. Right. I think I was tortured for a really long time by my own person, because I was like, I didn't get it right the first time. Right. I had to go back and refine something, and it seems so painful. But if something needs to be adjusted, then I'll adjust it.
So you'll mix it up, scissor, razor, clipper, any tool that you feel you need at the moment.
Yeah,
you're not restricted. I think, unfortunately, there is some dogma in hairdressing. Some people are like, I will only use a scissor.
Right.
I will never use this. Or vice versa. When I first started razoring, someone told me, oh, you never put a scissor on a razor haircut because then you've ruined the razor haircut. And that stayed with me for a couple of years. And then one day I said, well, fuck it. And I just picked up a scissor anyway.
Exactly.
So dogma is the enemy here. You know,
Yeah.
dogma is the enemy of great design.
Exactly. I think you look at something and you ask yourself what it needs. And that means sometimes something needs softening and sometimes something needs strength.
Yeah.
And so whatever point I'm at, that's where I move towards. And also for me, I often do this thing I ask people to come back in 1 week to 2 weeks. And because I like the idea that the haircut can actually
Get lived in.
and that I want people to be
Deconstruct a
able
little,
to
yeah.
rely upon it.
Yeah.
And so I don't like the idea of people kind of going away and then, for me, I'm like, I only really want to like see people every like 3 to 4 months anyway, because it just grows out nice in that time. But if they come and see me a week to 2 weeks later, it's called an edit, and I actually get to make the adjustments in that allows it to kind of live in a better place. Can I use blow dryer?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you just used first of all.
Ooh, yeah,
Got a
I
bunch
love
of
this
questions,
stuff.
and I know there'll be even more. What did he use? Why did he use
Yeah,
it?
of course.
Smells delicious.
Yeah, so this is Undressed, and it's one of my all-time favorites. It's a super go-to of mine. You can use it on wet hair, you can use it on dry hair, and it's a little bit more lived in, it's a little bit more sexy. It's what I think of on long hair as kind of slightly like more in that Alexa Chung family, if I needed that kind of reference.
It's not sticky at all.
No, exactly. And it's also a little bit reminds me of a texturizing spray. The difference is
You mean like a salt spray type of
in
thing?
that family.
Yeah,
but
it's not gritty though, is it?
No, that's the difference.
Yeah.
It's this, that visual effect that you love, except everyone always said the same thing. My hair feels dried out and crunchy.
And dull, yeah, dried out and dull.
This
yeah.
is the only
I
one.
never got into the salt sprays because of
Really?
that. Yeah, I don't like hair to feel like.
I lived for it.
Yeah, I couldn't use it.
I loved it. I thought it was so great.
Yeah.
Like half a bottle kind of great.
Yeah.
People hated me, I'm sure.
Our mutual friend Douglas McCoy says hello.
Oh, amazing.
He says great to see you and how far you've come. And your work is beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
We had another good question from Lily Douglas. Been admiring Wes's work and ethos for years, along with Roxy Darling. Can't wait to try New Wash.
Oh,
When
yeah.
is it coming to the UK?
I know.
Yeah.
That's not my department.
Yeah,
I don't have a UK answer.
You know, one
kid.
step at a time. This guy's here. Yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
You can hang out with me in the US anytime you want.
We did have
We'll do
someone.
watch together.
Someone in the feed here, I'm sorry I missed her name, but she had a lot of questions as to
Yeah.
why you didn't use a clipper for such a short cut. Any thought? I think sometimes people are surprised to see that. They're like, well, you could have just put a guard on the bottom,
Right.
done a number 3. But you obviously had a reason why you approached it so delicately.
Yeah, a couple things. The razor naturally will have a level of diffusion that I really like in the hair that makes it a bit more malleable.
The clipper might be too uniform and perfect.
It's going to be uniform and perfect, and I don't have the same amount of control about the sense of separation.
The
That's
depth.
exactly.
Yeah.
We talked last time a little bit about how I always think about the stroke of the razor as my grandmother's sewing machine.
Yeah,
And
the
zigzags,
needle,
right?
the stitch.
Exactly.
The stitch.
So that's why I didn't do it. It's not that it can't be done. I've done it. In fact, we've been cutting some clipper haircuts here on girls
Yeah.
like recently. So
You can use anything you want as long as you understand, a pencil is not a pen and a pen is not a paintbrush. But you can do all similar things with them, but understanding the subtle differences. And I think sometimes that's a big message for people to understand. Natalia, who is the big admirer of Kelly's eyebrows, says you took it to a whole nother level with the fringe. And she can't wait to cut hers just like that.
well, it's probably I've been watching kind of these like Beatle documentaries. So So things
Oh,
that
have you seen the new one? Is it out yet? The eight days a week?
Yes,
Have you
that's
seen
what
it?
I thought. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
it
yeah.
was
It's
fun.
supposed to be really
Yeah,
something
it's
special.
great. So, anything in the mod family. I mean, mod
What do you
is
think too of
always.
some of the like Julian D's props that he did on some of the supermodels? I know some of them were wigs, but he did that with Linda and
Love you for that reference. Keep it coming.
Yeah.
I mean, Hair Hero right there, right?
yeah, one of the
Love
ultimate
Julian.
hair heroes. Yeah, one of the ultimate. Julian D's. Anyone out there who's not familiar, you should look it up. He actually has a great Instagram profile. It doesn't put much hair on it, but it puts a lot of beautiful imagery on
Yeah.
there. Julian D's ultimate hair hero for many of us.
And the great thing about when you create this level of strength, whenever it moves, it's always graphic, no matter what. And I love that. So if this kind of parts this way, and I get this great, like, triangle in here, I think it's amazing. It always looks strong, no matter what you do, even if it separates itself. I love that.
So as you're drawing, you're just using your fingers. Do you do that a lot as opposed to a brush? Or?
Oh, I try to make everything look like it just happened.
Right.
I try not to use brushes if I don't have to use brushes.
Razor cutting I find helps with that a lot because
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, the
No.
line is not static. It's very much more erratic.
And there's something really, we were working with this model here once, that we did for this story, and she said this great thing. She goes, I don't own a blow dryer, and I don't think a modern woman should.
I'm a hairdresser. I don't even want to
See, there you go.
I don't
But I love that. I
That is
love
a
the
great
idea
line.
that she could just get a great haircut, great color, and then rely on that. And that she wanted to be very minimal at home about what she did.
Angerine Croman agrees she hates to be called cute. I used to work with an art director and he used to say the only thing to call cute are babies and puppies.
See, there
Don't
you go.
call haircuts cute.
Exactly.
But you know, it used to be that way, but cute became a much more like popular term in the past decade.
Right.
You know, it's like became like acceptable where
But see, I'm not that cool.
We're
Like
anti-cute.
I think that those people are like cool. Like they're like, oh, she's cute. I'm not
that's
that
so
cool.
cute. I think it's a California
Cute.
girl.
Oh, is it? Is
Yeah.
that where it came from?
Oh my God, that's so cute.
See.
I can say that because my wife is a California girl.
See it.
Say it, Cal. Say it. She's behind the camera.
Yeah. She's
God.
like, I don't want any part of this.
You have to go cute. Awesome, guys. We'd love to hear. Yeah. We'd love to hear any of your last questions for Wes as he's finishing up here. He's been really sharing this incredible work on Gorgeous Model here in the Hair Story Studio. We have pretty much the whole crew here in the background supporting and turning out for what we're doing here and what Wes is doing. And if you guys love this kind of education that we've been bringing to you almost every month from Hair Story Studio, you know, take a look at their product, help support what they're doing. They don't ask for anything in return here. They always say, hey, we'd love to share again with you. So if you're interested, head over to hairstory.com. Take a look at what they're offering. Specifically for an independent hairdresser, I think they've got a different business model that really speaks to the independent hairdresser. And in our country, in our world, there's more and more independent hairdressers, and they're one of the first and one of the few companies that's really speaking to the independent hairdresser from a business model. And it's really interesting. You don't need to fill your shelves with $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 worth of product to be in the Hair Story game. You really can buy an introductory package, start to use it, and then your clients can buy it online and you'll still make commissions. So let's move away from that and get back to this beautiful finished look. Let's let Wes share his final thoughts here.
I think one of the things that I love about this, I love that it's a little straighter here, and then moving into something that's a little more curved. I like the idea of perfectly imperfect. I like it as a thought in the world. You know, I think we should celebrate those little uniquenesses that are us. And I just love it here. It just makes it more intriguing and more interesting that it's not so perfect. That's my favorite.
Thanks, Wes. Beautiful. I can hear you all clapping at home behind your computer screens from your phone. They're clapping here. So the Hairbrain team is headed to Sweden this week. So our next live broadcast will come to you from Sweden.
I gotta work
Well,
there.
yeah, we'll
You
be
need
over there for
company?
what's called
Great.
Goldwell Color Zoom. Randy's already there. We'll be capturing great footage for you guys, and we'll do some live broadcasting from Sweden next week. And thanks for tuning in. Anything last that you want to say?
No.
All right, give
Thanks-
us a hug.
Thanks for hanging out.
He's so cute. Oh, I didn't say that.
Exactly. You're so tiny.
Thanks, guys.
You're so cute.